That's the it looked really, I really have fear. I really have. No, it's great for it to do. It has got a bit of everything. And I know girls who have no interest in it. See the first bit? It's working it out. It's also Christmas bad. Sparkling bad. I like that. I'm not interested in it. When you're ready to give me a script,
it's a lot bigger. The spectacle's a lot bigger. The action's a lot bigger. The journey that the characters go on are a lot more dynamic, I think, than the first. And for someone like Kirk, who in the first film was so self-assured, in the second he's found to be weak and filled with self-doubt. And I thought that was an interesting place to start for a hero of a film.
And I think in this movie, whereas the first one was about Spock grappling with his humanity, I think this one's about him accepting it. And in order to do that, he needs to be more vulnerable and allow himself to be witnessed in that vulnerability. And that's something that happens in this movie. Got it?
He's a terrorist, a one-man weapon of mass destruction, that he's on a mission which, as an awful lot of terrorists are, that one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter, and there is a certain level, I think you have an understanding of his motivations that might even lend a confusing audience empathy to the antagonist in the film, which is a novelty. It's a nice, rich, deep vein of confusion to throw amongst the mix of this otherwise thrilling sci-fi action thriller. So, he's an incredible character, and I think a shadow self of Kirk's and Spock's to some degree. He plays them both off against each other, one for his human instincts and one for his Vulcan logic, and he really, really messes up the dynamic within the ship.
They're closing fast, bearing 285.
There, we can lose them there. We're suggesting that we utilize the passage between the approaching structures. This ship will not fit. Won't fit. Captain, we will not fit. Won't fit.
These are some of my closest friends, and I love these guys. I love working with them. Chris and I have a great time. We're actually much more similar than Kirk and Spock. And it's always a great opportunity to come together and explore these characters that we are more familiar with now, with the perspective that we've gained, 4 years later, and we're older and hopefully wiser, and we all make the most of it without taking ourselves too seriously. So we love to have a good time, but we also know what we're there to do, and JJ never lets us forget that. So.
JJ creates such an atmosphere on set that it's like the first day after summer break, and you get to see all your friends and get to go back to work. And it's really a credit to him that something that where one could feel the onus of like having to live up to the Star Trek, mantle, doesn't feel like that at all. It feels like a good time.
I do it to him all the time.
I did, and I realised how much I'd watched it when I watched JJ's first film, because that brilliant rebooting and reinvention, but origin story made me incredibly sentimental about characters. I suddenly realised, well, yeah, I do have a connection with these characters.
I told you we fit.
I am not sure that qualifies.
Lori, but I got it together. Yeah, together. So I was like, no, but that Harry Potter cast it in both recently.
No, it's actually the animated thing. It just ran up to the company thing. We might have to